and the evolution of the opinion over time in space. Because, well, wherever changes, the political opinion certainly does. The data that we took from the Newsmatics API was for the time period between the 24th of February 2022, which is the day that Russia invaded Ukraine, and the 24th of February 2025, so exactly 3 years. That amounted to almost 1.5 million of articles, so actually quite a lot. For each article, we also took the text of those articles, and conducted some sentiment analysis on it. We assigned a sentiment score to each of the article, and then classified it to the 5 categories you can see in the first table, based on the value that we got.
Okay, and here we have some visualizations. So we wanted to plot how many numbers of publication about Ukraine is there, and we then transform it to log scale to better depict the differences between countries. So we can see that, for example, in the United States and Australia and India, the most publications were there. Okay, no. Okay. Then we try to depict sentiment scores and number of publication in every group. And for example, you can see for government institution, it's a bit shifted. So there were more positive about war in the Ukraine. So that's all.
Another interesting fact is actually the top 100 contributors to the database about Ukrainian war, and we found this interesting trend that countries from Eastern Europe and as well from Caucasus, such as Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia, they have actually the most so-called very positive articles about Ukrainian war. Later we focused just on top 5 contributors to the articles about Ukrainian war, and unsurprisingly it was United States of America, UK, Ukraine, India, and Canada. And here you can see the distribution of the sentiment categories: very positive, neutral, negative, and very negative. And at the other image you can see how many articles are from these countries exactly.
Okay, so here are some word clouds. We wanted to take some major events from the war, and the first one is the Bucha massacre, which was actually pretty in the beginning of the war, and we wanted to take some news from 1 week before the event and after the event, and check if the sentiment somewhat changed. And as you can see, the first image is pretty similar. Just on the right you can see Bucha written. The second is actually from the first offensive of the Ukrainian army from summer 2023. And there's interesting topic, I would say, that we thought that we would find some words about the army, but actually on the right there are words like dam, power plant, and so on, and it's because the destruction of the dam and of the hydro power plant that took place. And the third one are the elections in the US last year, and there's an interesting fact that on the right there's a large drop and all the other words are somewhat smaller. The last couple of images, you can see the percentages of the sentiment categories, and they are from UK and US, as these are the two most common countries that wrote articles about Ukraine, and it's pretty obvious that on the second one there's a massive drop in the positive category in the autumn of 2025 when the elections took place. So
to summarize it up, we're not programmers, so we had more technical difficulties, and we also tried to animate in R. We also everything. This is a quarto in R, so we find out that R maybe isn't the best for hackathon competitions. But we wanted also to do even studies on time series, but we weren't able to correctly extract the data and plot them. So at least we'll finish it, and we're glad that we had this kind of experience. Thank you.
I'm going to start by saying that R is very relevant. I've seen and looked through many research papers who just used R, didn't have to make complicated software models, so it's like, don't worry about this thing. I like that you approached it by sharing us the notebook. Would probably like to have more textual descriptions about it. Just when I take a look at the word clouds, do you think it helps to have the word clouds you have there?
I would maybe delete the first one because it's not that interesting. But I would say the later two ones are somewhat interesting.
But the goal was to distinguish between the publication's coverage, right?
I would say just see the trend in time, and there's before that there would be time difference there, more difference between the one on the left and the one on the right, but
it's hard to see because when you use different colors of the words and also don't remove the common words, it's just hard to see the difference. Anyways, I want to ask how accurate is the sentiment model which you used in the more those charts, the correlate?
Can I ask maybe accurate how you mean?
Yeah, how did you arrive at the sentiment categories in the heat map for sentiment classification figure 2?
Right, okay, so that was something that we just kind of look at the data, look at the distribution of the sentiment, and decided that these are the categories that we think could be good.
Okay, and the sentiment itself, it came from some model?
So what we did was we looked at each of the articles and organized it by words, looked at the words from some sentiment analysis lexicons, so some words that have some positive or negative connotations attached to it.
And could you just tell me what was the sentiment thingy?
It was the Bing lexicon.
Bing, okay. Okay, thank you very much.
I have a question about the last two charts or images. Did you try to create those even for the other countries, just for comparison, or you did not?
I created one for all of the countries, and it's actually pretty same like the one from the US, because most of the articles from the US. But I looked at some other European countries, and there wasn't so much a trend, so I choose this couple.
Okay, so in the Europe it didn't change this much as in the other countries?
Yes.
Just curious. Thank you.
You focused on this one topic. I would like to know if you would be able to streamline this and apply it to some other topics as well. How long do you think it would take?
I think possibly
I would also like to see, like, if you had, like, the topic is Ukraine and war, right? So I'd love to see how it did end up with so much positive news about, like, how were they looking, you know, like those positive news, like very positive news from, it's just like a thing for if you do this sort of research. I think it's really great to have this report, so I like the form. Just that's for you for later. Thank you very much.